Call the meeting to order at 7 o'clock for the August meeting of the Batavia Park District. Please call the roll, Shelley.
Riley.
Here.
Boyles.
Here.
Tillman.
Here.
Gray absent. Callahan.
Aye. Please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So any items to be added, removed, or changed on the agenda?
Nope, there are none.
I would just like to add personnel under executive session in addition to leasing and property. I just have a couple of quick items to talk to the board about, some housekeeping stuff. Do we need to amend the agenda, or?
No, well, when we get to executive session, we'll just say 2C1 and 2C5.
Okay, sounds good. Alrighty, so I would entertain a motion to establish the consent agenda as follows. The approval of the minutes for the regular board meeting of July 21st, approval of the minutes of the executive session of July 21st, approval of the paid expenditures, unpaid expenditures, treasurer's report, purchases, ordinance number 350, declaration of surplus property, and the annual review of the district's organizational chart.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Tillman, second by Foils. Any further discussion? Shelley, please call the roll.
Tillman.
Aye.
Boyles.
Aye.
Riley.
Aye.
Gray absent. Callahan.
Aye. Motion carries. Next, then I would entertain a moment to approve the consent agenda as established.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Tillman, second by Foils. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is matters from the commissioners. Anyone wishing to have any comments here tonight?
Bueller. Bueller.
We're good. All right. Next item on the agenda is correspondence. Let's see here. We had two pieces of correspondence. One, an invitation to the IAPD IPRA Legislative Awareness Picnic on August 29th. And then a note of thanks from Georgianne O'Dwyer, longtime park volunteer, and appreciation for the event held at Harold Call Quarry Beach. I'm sorry, I still call it Harold Call Quarry Beach. Very good, please put those on file. Next item is announcements.
Thank you.
Do we have some?
Yes, we have
Excellent.
several. Okay, one man's trash is another man's treasure. The district is hosting a yard sale fundraiser this coming weekend, Friday and Saturday, August 21st and 22nd, from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. at the Boat Club at 1 South Logan Street in Laurelwood Park. Proceeds from the sale will go toward upgrades to the facility. History returns to Batavia September 10th through 13th at the Riverwalk. The Batavia Depot Museum will host a number of activities at this year's Civil War encampment, including a fashion show and ladies' tea party, a signal corps demonstration, a cannon drill, and a short reenactment of President Lincoln's farewell speech. All events are free, and for a full list of events, please visit our website at bataviaparks.org. Moms are invited to enjoy a special night with their sons ages 3 to 11 at West Main Community Park on Thursday, September 24th from 6 to 8 p.m. Kick off the evening with a wagon ride, followed by campfire time. Hot dogs and chips will be provided for dinner, followed by all the fixins for s'mores. Pre-registration is required. Calling all volunteers, the Park District is seeking volunteers for the 6th Annual Haunted Quarry on October 17th and 24th. This is a great for service hours and community groups, so please give us a call if you're interested in. For more information, please give us a call at 630-879-5235 or visit our website, bataviaparks.org.
Thank you very much. Next time on the agenda is staff reports, so we'll start with any updates from staff that they'd like to share with the board.
Sure. The finance department has been diligently working on the budget. We have had our kickoff meetings. We've also had some training with our current financial software, so we're definitely on our way and very excited to get through this second full calendar fiscal year.
Outstanding. Anyone else?
Go ahead.
Oh, hard to follow that
It's
up.
not compulsory, by the way, but go ahead.
Well, it's hard to follow that up, but for those of you who didn't know, the quarry's closed. Yes, we closed on Sunday. It was a wonderful season. My first season with the quarry, so it was a good time. Got to say goodbye to whoever was left. And for those of you who didn't get the memo, school starts tomorrow, so kindergarten enrichment and the before and after school programs are beginning. So everyone is frantically trying to make sure that everything is set and in place for the big day tomorrow.
Excellent.
I'm helping everyone say goodbye to our great summer staff and bring in all the school year staff, make sure everyone's up and ready and our programs are safe and operational, as Mr. Gary Motika would say.
Good quote.
In the announcements, I did mention the yard sale, but I do hope that you'll have a chance to stop down and see if there's anything you would like to purchase. Just for your knowledge, we are accepting donations. I didn't include that in that because by the time it airs, it'll be a little bit too late. But tomorrow and Thursday, we are accepting donations. If there's anything you would like to purge and get rid of, it is a tax-deductible donation, as I'm sure you're well aware. And then also, we did have the chili cook-off on July 25th, sorry. And we did have 30 chefs participate. I think it was just after the board meeting last month. So just wanted to comment on
On a
that.
grueling 98-degree day.
It was a little
Wonderful.
warm. We had ice cream to cool off. And then I also included in my board report for this month an end of season letter from our intern, from our marketing intern. I'll let you read the whole thing. I just wanted to highlight a couple pieces from it. This was Marissa, who did meet at the beginning of the summer. She said, "While at the Park District, I was able to do things that I never would have been able to do simply by sitting in a classroom and taking notes. I'm so grateful for that learning experience. All the Park District staff were extremely welcoming and helpful throughout my time here. I loved this work environment, and I hope that when it comes time for me to settle down and find a job after graduation, that I will have such a friendly staff to work with as I did here at the Park District." So,
Oh, that's very nice. Congratulations, you guys did a good job with her. Board, any comments on staff reports? All right, next item is the executive director's report.
Yes. You'll be happy to know that I received a phone call from Blackberry Township, who is extremely interested in beginning a partnership with us, just like we did with the Village of Elburn.
Interesting.
So they would like to develop an IGA with us to cover the non-Elburn residents that they serve. So I'll be meeting with them to discuss.
Who from the township contacted you?
Ken Dorbeck,
The supervisor?
supervisor,
Oh, Ken Cunningham,
Mhm.
okay.
Yep.
Are they not in?
or
the-
Fred, I'm sorry, Fred.
Are they
Fred.
not in the Fox Valley Park District out there, or is it one of those
Mm-mm.
tweener things again? It's kind of,
It's a tweener, yep. They're not in Geneva, they're not in Sugar Grove, because Sugar Grove boundaries are really, they're kind of like
oh,
in
right,
that
yeah, sure.
awkward in-between state. But since 90% of their residents actually live in the Village of Auburn, they felt that it'd be useful to include the unincorporated folks.
Great.
So I thought that was pretty interesting, wanted to bring that up to you. Also, I did take a poll, as you know, just a couple weeks ago to see about moving the next board meeting. It takes place during the NRPA conference where Commissioner Riley and Dean Huskin and Carrie Feldkamp and I will be going to the NRPA conference. So I did hear back from three out of five, and that we're all in favor of moving to Tuesday, September 22nd. So that'd be the week after our regularly scheduled board meeting.
Tuesday, the 22nd. Okay.
So, we can make arrangements to let the media know, and we can certainly post things at our facilities, let the general public know.
I'm gonna change mine right now, 'cause I'll forget.
That's exactly what I'm doing.
Alright.
I've
I
already
will,
done it.
I will wait, so that way you guys can do that. And while you're in there, I've got a few other dates for you. So let me know when a good time to continue. You're showing off, aren't you?
He is.
I think it's the difference between Android and Apple, but I wouldn't say anything.
You're terrible.
A little tech humor. Well, I would like to know if the board has any interest in the IAPD, IPRA Legislative Awareness Picnic. It's kind of an old-fashioned family picnic with games. Different park districts compete against one another. It can be a melting pot of staff, public officials, and legislators. It's a week from Saturday, so if you have any interest, please let me know and I will try to get together a team.
Okay, I cannot make it, but thank you for the invite.
Okay. All right, and then in terms of other dates, I would like to try to lock into your schedules a couple of special board meetings for the budget. Tuesday, September 29th, it's the week after the newly scheduled September 22nd board meeting. It's our CDP, it's our annual CDP board meeting, and that would start at 6 p.m. If you recall, last year we were at Water Street Studios for that particular meeting.
Mhm.
So that's Tuesday, September 29th, 6 p.m.
Okay. So a week after the board meeting.
Is there a location for that yet?
To be determined. If you liked the location from last year, we can certainly try that again.
Is boat club nice now?
Actually, one of the that's a great idea. One of the reasons why we're doing the rummage sale is to host an open house so people can see the boat club. And at some point, I may be coming before you to ask for a possible change of that particular venue. Since we're redoing the venue, rehabbing it, the boat club kind of has a certain feel and taste to it, where we've upgraded it. So we may be asking you for,
Taste of the boat club.
yeah, at the lodge at Laurelwood.
The lodge. All right, what's the other date?
The other dates, actually one's just during the regularly scheduled board meeting for Tuesday, October 20th. That'll be the first reading with property taxes, so if you're already planning on coming to that board meeting, that's the 20th. And then the special board meeting would be Tuesday, October 27th, so that's the week after that board meeting. It's our budget workshop, which we always host at the Gustafson Research Center. And
So are we
that's-
doing like the 6 o'clock on the
Yes,
20th then? That's
6
what you're talking, okay.
6 o'clock on the 27th.
Still 7 o'clock on the 20th.
Oh, yes,
Okay.
the 20th is a regularly scheduled board
Okay.
meeting.
And then 6
7 o'clock.
o'clock on the 27th for, say that again?
The budget workshop at the Gustafson Research Center.
What time is that again? 7?
October 27th is at 6 p.m.
Both are at 6, these special meetings?
Yep, the September 29th and the 27th. That way, we won't keep you too late. We'll try not to keep you too late.
And it's where?
The 27th is at the Gustafson Research Center.
Okay.
Oakley dokley.
And the last thing I have to report isn't a date, so don't worry. It's next month, we will cover the Hull Quarry Beach and Windmill City Festival financials.
Oh, great.
Cool.
Great, and that's a wrap.
I guess I do need to share with you, I had a couple of occasions this summer to talk with some longtime Batavia residents and a few short-time Batavia residents who actually said some very nice things about the quarry, particularly later in the season, how much warmer the water was, you know, once the weather actually warmed up. But they all gave great praise to the staff at the quarry. Cleanliness, you know, enjoyable experience. Some are, you know, first-time Batavians, meaning they lived here, let's say, under 5 years, but haven't really spent much time at the quarry. So kudos to the staff for creating an experience for folks. And the longtime Batavians who haven't been there in a while decided to go back, and they enjoyed what they remembered a little more fondly, but they did like the fact that some of the changes that we've made down there and some of the water elements, et cetera, were kind of cool. So anyway, congratulations.
Great, and we're gonna be surveying our season pass holders. Dean and Carrie and Amber are gonna get together and hammer out a plan so we can get more feedback.
Terrific. Anything else?
Nope.
Board, any comments? All right. So, next item on the agenda is, actually, what is the next item on the agenda?
Administrative policies, administrative policies.
Oh, it doesn't have the asterisk by it, but
Oh,
it is the,
it is,
Oh, yeah.
it's in here though.
Sorry about that.
I got
My bad.
thrown for a second.
Mhm.
Administrative policy discussion. So this is second reading?
This is, and just, I want to keep this on the radar.
Yeah.
So we have top of mind awareness with it. I did hear back from Gary, and he had a very good suggestion in regards to the affiliate status policy about, if you look at the actual affiliate status policy, number 1, and feel free to chime in anytime, Gary, but he had talked about removing 1B and actually just making it a paragraph instead of having A and B. Basically stiffening up what the requirements are and making it a 501c3 status in order to be an affiliate. So that way, it's not just groups that have bylaws. It's not just, kind of a loosely knit group that calls themselves a nonprofit group but doesn't have incorporation papers.
Do all of our affiliates all the people we call affiliates currently have that status?
I do believe Mother's Club is questionable. I've never asked to see their incorporation papers, but for the most part, yes, like Main Street.
Like BYF and some of the other ones that they all fall under that same category?
Yeah,
Mhm.
And, in my experience, what this does is it's really a very high bar we've set for this affiliate status because they're getting very special treatment. And what it is then it means that the one-off groups, it's very difficult to reach that affiliate status. Until now, if you get some new groups that come in and they get established and they get set up, at that point, they may be ready.
I think it's a good suggestion. I just want to make sure we don't preclude anybody who's already kind of in that status by changing the policy. So I'd like it just to double check to make sure that we don't put anybody out.
My 2 cents is, I totally agree with Gary about that, but one of the reasons we're doing this is the old policy was perceived as an entry barrier of sorts. 501c3 status is a Byzantine process, and it's made worse because they're understaffed. So, stuff that's a layup for 501c3 status in which there's no controversy can take 8 months. So if you're a splinter group, you're fed up with whatever, and now you've started, you've got a bunch of parents, and you've got a team, and you apply for 501c3 status, you may go a year without hearing from them that you have it. So, the only reason I bring this up, again, I completely agree with Commissioner Foils. I think it's the appropriate requirement to have for this status, given what we are doing in terms of scheduling and everything else. Just one, again, because of the awareness around the issues prompted by this entry barrier thing, just recognize that, I'm articulating it for you, and you can make your decision.
Yeah.
Once you apply for that status though, isn't there some sort of stipulation that you've applied for it and can therefore act as if you are that, right?
For ones that are related to research, so if I establish the Gary Foils 501c3 for cancer research, and while it's pending, your donation to the Gary Foils golf outing, that portion that would be tax deductible, you can claim that even though it's not yet a 501c3.
Right.
That's the only purpose I'm aware of. But
Okay.
we're crafting this policy as you wish, and you can say, proof that it's been applied for,
Right.
that is sufficient. I'll leave that to you.
I think that would be in character with what you're requesting. It's a really good
Well,
idea. And then if they've applied for it, since there is that backlog, at least we know that they're moving forward. And we're not gonna preclude them from being able to have their season or whatever.
Well, this doesn't preclude anybody from having a season. What it does is it sets, this is all gonna be part of a whole athletic facility schedule, this is a very small part of a very big thing that I know they're working on, and I have one of these. That status is just a high, but you're gonna have, I assume it's gonna look something like, park district programs and school district programs are gonna have very high priority, affiliate programs are gonna have very high priority, and then there'll be some sort of a pecking order underneath that. It might be resident groups that have X number of population, which would be next. So even though this group doesn't meet this affiliate status, which is kind of a golden thing, it doesn't mean they're not gonna get fields, it's just gonna mean they fall in at level 3 instead of level 2.
But if they've applied for the 501c3, then we could put a provision in and say,
We
if
certainly
you've
could.
applied for it, then we'll let you, and if that's your only thing that's left for being in the affiliate status, then we should let them be in the affiliate status.
We could
because-
put a term to it and say, pending status for, 1 year, after that 1 year period. If they're still not accepted, then there's some red flag.
Application papers.
Exactly,
Yeah.
they'd have to have, just like we'd have to ask them to prove that they've actually been, acknowledged as a 501c3, we'd show us the papers that you've applied and that the official, because when you apply, you get the, the stamp that we've received your paperwork and so forth, that,
And they still have to meet all of the other
Right.
hurdles,
Yeah, there's still other stuff.
budget and established board and so on.
Mhm.
So would the board like me to add in a caveat that talks about a pending status and that the park district could accept them?
Well,
Yeah.
and that's a nit.
Right.
We're still at 10,000 feet with this policy.
Right, with the field allocation?
Yep.
Well, just one thing, with the, correct me if I'm wrong, which I probably will be, but with the status, applying to the status, just because you apply to a status, if you want to use a field, you may not necessarily actually qualify. I mean, you could apply, can't you, without even meeting all the requirements? Is there something to say, okay, well, we have 3 people and we're just going to apply to this? So then you're in that application phase for a year, and who is it for us to say, yes, your application is qualified or it's not?
Well, there are we've seen enough of these, so that if we get one that's an application, I want Allison to run it by me, but there are a number of things that have to be attached to the application. They are the bona fides of a real organization that Commissioner Foils is talking about. So for the real application, it's not just bylaws, you have to talk about corporate purpose, how you're accounting, who your membership is, and who's responsible for the full board of directors. All of those things have to be attached, not just the 2 pieces of paper filled out, apply.
Right.
So if we see all the full application with all of the bona fides, you're properly incorporated in the state of Illinois, you've got the insurance, you've done the mission statement.
Background checks?
All that, well, that's not gonna be in the 501c3, but we see all the bona fides of a real organization that's gonna go on, that's fine. And we need to see the 501c3 status, because as soon as you start missing reports, once you're up and running,
Mhm.
and it's called founder syndrome. The people who found this thing, and the kids progress to the program, and they're gone, and they've not recruited or handed off, and then it's gone, so we want to see every year. It's a really nice check and balance.
And the point is that even if they don't meet the hurdle of the affiliate status, you're a group, you want fields, it doesn't mean you don't get fields. It just means that the groups that get affiliate status, like presumably BYB would be one of them, is gonna get a slightly higher priority level than a new small group that's just forming.
And part
Now,
of the,
once this new small group has established itself, then they kind of grow into that, really.
and part of the field allocation policy can address something like, BYB, where we have legal agreements that take precedence over
Yeah,
the affiliate
typical
status.
The fight, Commissioner Riley, is that you have the well-established serving 10,000 group, and you have the new splinter group serving 1,000, and now they're both affiliates, they both qualify, they've done the whole thing. How do you allocate a field between the established 10,000 group and the 1,000 group? That's the bigger question that needs to be done, because what typically happens is the 1,000 group says, all you've ever done is relegate me to the crappiest little old baseball field at the elementary school. So your pristine fields are given to the 10,000, so, and, that's always the point. It's simple math. You don't love me as much as you love our brother.
Yep. But we do have a recommendation to delete the other policies in their entirety, if that's something that the board would like to do, as we continue to work forward with the affiliate status, to work on the affiliate status policy.
Which other policies?
Affiliate groups
Oh,
for,
the existing path.
Not, yeah, existing PAF, then that way, we can at least start the communication that we're working on an affiliate policy. Yeah, ironically, the groups that we have worked with, that we're partners with, so many of the boards have changed that a lot of the groups like Main Street didn't even know what PAF was. School district didn't know what PAF was, you know, so,
Doesn't really apply to them. How are you gonna make decisions in the absence of any policy?
Yeah, I'm not inclined to delete a policy before we have a new one in place to replace it. I mean, that's the purpose of having a policy. At least you have something to go back to in the event of a situation that you need to, regardless of whether they know about it or not. It's more for our benefit than it is for theirs in reality, because it's an organizational tool, if you will, if we need to have some hard discussions or make some judgments on why we did something versus not doing something. If we don't have a policy, I think that was part of the problem before the PAF, is that we really had a very loose policy. And we got into a lot of uncomfortable situations because things were being done inconsistently between the groups that we were affiliated with. So I guess I'm inclined just to leave this at its status quo until we can hammer this out and get some feedback
okay.
from those groups.
Yeah, Allison, my concern would be that, we're talking about the allocation of a public asset, and, in the absence of something for you to fall back on in terms of decision-making, the idea is that you've been unfair to me, you've not treated me the same as others, and that starts to implicate constitutional rights, and so I don't wanna see that kind of, and, because everybody's a special snowflake, litigation's ensued around that kind of thing. about
Okay.
the use of fields, so.
Duly noted.
For your protection as much as anything, and you can interpret the path has plenty of play in it, you can interpret it to work, or at least we have something to fall back on so that it's not arbitrary decision-making.
Well, and just know that I have spoken with Mike Law of BYB and Bob Geiken of Tri-City Soccer, so they are aware that PAF is going to come to an end, and that we are working on something to put into place that will be incremental throughout time too, so.
Right, like, for example, without it, what's the requirement that they do the criminal background checks?
Mhm.
We don't have anything on the books that would require that, if we just deleted PAF.
Right, because we would need the affiliate policy, which has that stated in there. Yep, you're right. All right, thank you for the feedback, I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
And my offer stands to review those other things. If we want to come in and meet, I'm happy to do that.
I
Thanks.
appreciate it. Thank you.
Before we go away, let me just recommend, as we were talking about this, and this goes to your point, and I know, because this is just the first of several renditions or modifications.
Well, it's one policy that's related to several others.
Right.
Which I don't think we have before you yet. That's what
Right.
we're trying to
Okay.
figure out where you want to push us.
Right. Athletic field policy, or the allocation of the fields, is a policy that is married to this one. And we're currently working on that as well. And
Typically that goes park district, school district, some
Affiliates.
special group like affiliates, and then others, and it begins with, in terms of priority, percentage of your constituents served by the organization. And then
Number of residents served.
sometimes, depending on the park district, depending on your facilities, return to the park district in terms of money. I mean, if there are these folks like Game Day USA who will come in and rent West Main for a tournament. De Beers will rent your facility for a tournament, pay you a lot of money, and you might be willing to, well, given the return, you might move that up ahead of, a 3-hour rental that would otherwise interfere with that tournament.
So going with that, and also about the 10,000 lives versus the 1,000 life group. So on the last page, on 117, the third bullet point says, what an affiliate will get from this. So an affiliate will receive the following benefits: use of park district facilities and fields with a priority in scheduling. So that one, I think we need to be careful when we marry this with others.
Yes, exactly.
That if I'm reading this and I'm the 1,000 life group, I'm thinking, oh, I'm gonna get some priority.
And you will.
You are. You will.
But let's not be misleading to people that, there's a 1,000 life group, I'm gonna get to do, I'm gonna get the nice field.
Right.
And then some other, they all have to coincide, all the policies have to go together.
Right, which is why at the last park board meeting, Pat had even said, this is gonna take more than just a, first or second blush. It's a process. It's gonna take some time. And that's why it's good to take a fresh set of eyes to it, put it away, look at it again. Is there anything else that's speaking to you that's drawing questions that we need to answer?
And I think the bigger or the more important input we get to at least guide our deliberations is input from our affiliates on either the good, bad, or indifferent disposition to the old PAF program, what issues they had with it. And as we look to changes to more field rental policy and allocation policy, what concerns do they have? And I'm not interested in resolution. I'm not interested in them saying, we'd like to see this. I'm interested more in them discussing with us, this is the issue we are having. And then we, as a board, can set the policy to try to address that issue. It's not gonna be perfect. It's gonna take some time. There probably gonna be, some iterations back and forth, not only on the first policy we implement, but revisions thereafter. But it's important for us to get feedback and not do this in a vacuum from the very people who are ultimately going to be guided by or the beneficiaries of whatever we put in place, good, bad, or indifferent. So that, to me, is something that staff, I think, needs to do sooner than later. It will also help us, I guess, shorten the duration as to when we feel it's time to adopt and then revert PAF to this new policy, because you have to try it, you have to put it out there. And we're not reinventing the wheel. There's other park districts who do this on a regular basis, but it's gonna be an adjustment. And the sooner we engage our affiliates to get some dialogue going, the faster I think the board can move.
And the board had mentioned at last month's meeting that you'd be interested in even talking to the other boards. Would that be at a later point then? Because staff, we've already started discussions with those.
No, I think you need to have those discussions first.
Okay, good, because
Okay.
we've started that process.
Once we get that feedback to us, in terms of whatever the summaries you want to provide us, meeting minutes, if you want to do it in kind of bullet point format by group, however you want to do it, then once we have a chance to dialogue with it, we, the board, may decide that it may be beneficial with a group or two to have a one-on-one engagement with them, as board to board. Just to have an open dialogue and make this a very transparent process on how we arrived at this policy. We're not suggesting we need to do that. We're just saying we want to have that option open to us
Sure.
in the event we feel we need to have that communication, direct communication.
If I may say, you're lucky, you have a wealth of park professional, intellectual capital sitting right here, who's done this as a professional for a long time.
Right, I agree.
Yep, we've been in cahoots. We've been in close contact over it.
Terrific.
Is that my stomach or is it thundering?
If that's your stomach, you haven't eaten for a year.
I'll be right back.
You have problems other than not eating.
All right, any additional comments? Thanks very much for this. We'll keep marshaling forward.
Thank you.
Thanks, Gary, for your efforts. So next item on the agenda is new business, new financial software recommendation. So just let me summarize before we go here. The memo gives a little history lesson as to where we were. And can you share with the board right now, because I'm a little confused on dollars as to what we
Okay.
invested in the software we currently have. Because there was a change, right? I mean, what we currently have, we didn't have before you got here.
No,
No,
We've-
back in
In
2008, in 2009.
is when
Okay.
we obtained MSI.
Okay?
And the reason why we're changing today is that MSI will no longer be supported. So I know years ago, you probably never envisioned being back in the situation again, but unfortunately, when the software's not being supported anymore, we have no choice but to make a move.
Sure.
So that's why we're making a move now.
Right. And as we talked at our retreat, the data sets and all the things we talked about are migratable to the new system. They can all be backed up and then uploaded and all that other good stuff. So in terms of downtime and all that other stuff, other than it's a new software and maybe there's new training that has to happen, the material or the background data sets are intact.
Some of it, but not all of it. Because we've changed fiscal years, the only thing that's gonna migrate over would be our calendar years. Because right now, I'm currently running on 2 databases inside MSI. I have a May 1 database, and I have a January 1 database. So we are only converting the January 1st database, because financial software normally can't understand changing a fiscal year midstream. So we would still have MSI in the background, not running. We'd run a ton of reports.
Access to the data.
Access to the data would be there, run reports, so at least it's easier, instead of having to sign into the server at all times to run, FOIA requests and things like that. We'd have reports available for everyone, which is really what we currently do today, because staff, other than myself, do not have access to anything prior to 2015. Because when you look at the information, when you look at how you sign on, it is no different, and we don't need people going to the wrong fiscal year and making changes. So, staff has been limited to anything before January 1st of this year.
Okay. And the August 18th memo identifies 4 vendors.
There originally were 4, yes.
Right. And the name that we're gonna be approving doesn't show up on those 4 vendors.
Yes, in code.
Oh, no, in the suggested action on the action
Oh.
item sheet, it says Tyler
It's
Technologies.
Sorry, which is the Encode product, I'm sorry.
Oh, that's the product.
That's the product.
So are we awarding the contract, are we awarding, is the agreement going to Tyler Technology, or is it going to Encode?
Encode, Tyler Technologies, because Encode is their product, Tyler Technologies is the actual company name.
Okay, so
So it actually would be Tyler
I guess that's what,
Technologies.
that's where I was
Yes.
confused,
Yes.
thank
So
you.
it'd be Tyler
The
Now,
Technologies.
now I'm good, all right, I'm
I'm
tracking
sorry.
with you.
I did not make that very clear.
Sorry,
You're-
I got it now.
So, yes, it's been a long selection process since 2012. Tammy LaFleur, which is the AP payroll coordinator, and Jen, sitting two next to me, attended morning sessions about 4 softwares, BS&A, Encode, Smart Fusion, and Springbrook. In April of this year, Tammy and I reviewed half-day sessions for each of them, looking at what finance would need, like what to do, run day-to-day operations, cut payroll checks, cut accounts payable checks, budgets, and things like that that are needed for just what finance deals with. We looked at those 3, and we felt like all 3 were good contenders to bring to the next level. We did not look at Smart Fusion at all, because that is a product of Harris Computer Systems, which is the owner of MSI. And we, ever since I've gotten here in past, have never had a positive customer support experience with them. So, seeing that happening, we don't feel like we'd get that same experience, unfortunately, in the future, so they were not even in the running. So after we decided that the 3 were all competitive, we went, in his advisory role, went to the executive director and the technology committee and said, we want you to look at this as an operational, as a manager position. How do you look up an accounts payable bill? How do you look up your payroll information? How do you enter your budget? Those are things that, that everyone else outside of finance would be doing on, not a day-to-day basis, but more, more reoccurring. From that point, all of them sat in on, 2.5-hour demonstrations.
2 days.
For 2 days, long process. But finally, when all said and done, 7-1 vote was to go with Encode. The Encode and BS&A were very, very close in regards to voting structure, and that's also including Tammy and myself. Both of us felt that they both did an excellent job in what they did, but Tyler had a little bit better edge than what BS&A offered, which is especially the customer service support side. So, as you see in the pricing, they do offer an on-premise versus a software as a service. The lower price is the on-premise version, mainly because the software for service, if you go over 10 users at the Park District, the price goes up significantly. So we may have been closer to even if we were under 10, but we have 20, and that's what we've traditionally had at the district, is about 20 users. The other things that we talked about was on-premise solution is customizable. So if we need to do something out of the ordinary that is not a canned process with Encode, we can do that if it's on-premise. If it's on software as a service, we cannot. It's also more secure being on-premise. And with the software for service, we'd also be dealing with additional costs. For example, we end up looking for probably having more bandwidth coming in the internet because we'd be using the internet all the time to go software service back in and out. So I did also do reference checks. I talked to 3 park districts that currently use Encode. 2 of them have been there for over 10 years. They absolutely love it. They have no intention of leaving. their updates, which actually surprised me, are very easy to do. Unlike MSI currently, it's a process to get a hold of them and do that update. You install a file, it updates everything, and you are done. And they're actually coming out very frequently too, changes that need to be made. The third reference, she's actually in the middle of implementation. So she's going through all of the process and with the organization, which is actually going through a lot of changes as well, because they're doing a lot of financial changes in regards to their accountant structure and how they're actually just doing operations. They're not going down the cow path. They're gonna change it all up so they can be more efficient and go into the future. So the recommendation is to start contract negotiations with Encode, which is a Tyler Technologies product, to allow us to start that process, and in essence, once that is approved by council, to have Allison sign off on the contract.
Are there any additional costs with the on-premise in terms of our own IT people and our bigger servers or those kinds of costs that can
Right.
really?
The server costs are in there. At this point, we do not actually have to buy a brand new server. We just bought that last year. It was purchased knowing we would most likely go to another software. Not sure if it'd be in-house or not, but it has been spec'd out significantly bigger to cover a second financial piece of software going on that server. So if there will be additional costs at this point, it'd be possibly increasing RAM, some drive space, but it would not be a whole set of a brand new server. In regards to IT, all the work that they do for MSI is during our normal 3-hour window, so there is no additional cost, and that would not change.
So years 2 through 5 are annual subscription updates or maintenance updates or
Yes.
service agreement, or however you want to
So-
describe it?
Yeah, the on-premise, so the first year would be the implementation of the software plus the annual maintenance costs. Year 2, 3, 4, and 5 are a 5% increase of those costs on an annual basis. The software for service is the implementation costs as well as the static $25,000 rough number on an annual basis for the 20 licenses. They only go out 5 years, so I do not know what year 6 would be. They don't contract anything more than that. I did get a price for a contract for 3 years, which was only like $2,000 higher than it was for a 5. But they only go out 5, so really the unknown would be year 6 and out. Because the goal and the plan would be to stay on this software and not leave after year 6, because none of us want to go through this process nor this expenditure.
We're looking for longevity.
Yeah.
So are we awarding the contract tonight at the 101?
Yes, we would award, well,
And then the remainder would be budgeted annually as a service cost or a cost to,
yes.
okay.
And actually, the 101 that will be awarded tonight would most likely not be spent all this year, but we don't know what that allocation would be through the implementation process. We don't have, implementation takes between 6 to 9 months for them, but we can't give a real date because it's going to depend upon how long it takes to do the contract negotiations before we can have that finalized date out there.
That's why if you could authorize me to work with Dirk, and then when that contract is ready, it's
So,
an approval.
so in terms of negotiating, are we then gonna approve on not to exceed the 101?
Yes.
Yes.
Instead of,
That's how it's.
And
written.
subject to my final wording of it.
Mhm.
Right.
Any other detailed question before we? So I would entertain a motion to approve the recommendation to enter into an agreement with Tyler Technologies for an amount not to exceed $101,443 and authorize the executive director to execute a contract upon final approval, or final review and approval by Park District Council.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Tillman, second by Riley. Any further discussion?
Did we budget anything for?
Mhm. Yes, we did. We budgeted in this current year $95,000, which was split between corp and rec.
Okay, thank you.
Okay,
I'm good.
good?
Tillman,
Mhm.
Good? Please call the roll.
Tillman,
Aye.
Riley,
Aye.
Boyles,
aye.
Gray absent, Kelly.
Aye, motion carries.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mhm.
Have fun.
It's an interesting process.
Feeling you're gonna have some late nights in front of you.
They're all excited over there.
Yeah, I can tell. They're smiling.
Yeah,
I really like it. It's a great system.
is it?
All right, any Fox Valley Special Rec update?
No, there's not.
Okay.
Yep. They're going through distinguished accreditation, so policy after policy. I won't bore you with the details.
All right. So then I would entertain a motion to enter into executive session for leasing and property, 2C5, and personnel, 2C1 of the Illinois Open Meetings Act.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Tillman, second by Foils. Shelley, please call the roll.
Tillman,
Aye.
Foils,
Aye.
Riley,
Aye.
Gray absent, Callahan.
Aye. Motion carries.
Anticipate any action after.
No, we do not anticipate any action after our board meeting, so thank you very much for joining us. We will see you next month.